Hey Austin, my name is Steve with Autohitch.com, and we actually have a auto buying service down in South Florida. But really, what I wanted to talk to you about today was your question. I guess I got an alert from Quora for you wanting me to answer your question, or at least give my opinion and answer it to the best of my ability. And that question is leasing better than buying if I only want to use the car for 3 years? That question, and actually the answer that the gentleman down below gave, Anthony, which is the first one that's showing up down here, okay, he's right when he says it comes down to the numbers, as it does with any car deal. The first rule is that there are no rules, really, okay? Every car deal is so different because every vehicle is different. I mean, there are some vehicles with 30 trim levels. Every car buyer is different. Every area of the country that you might purchase the car. And I obviously work within the United States, but maybe you're speaking of somewhere else. But even then, every part of your country where the car is purchased, there's so many factors that are going to delegate, what is a good deal for you. I know one that most people don't consider when it comes to a lease is going to be the residual value. Okay, residual value is what the dealer anticipates the vehicle is going to be worth at the end of the lease when they're going to have the opportunity to take it back in and sell it. Okay. Now with vehicles that are going to be very high value, so you're talking now, SUVs, family size vehicles, stuff like that, trucks, pickup trucks. Those are the type of vehicles that will have a good residual value, and the dealer's going to want those back. Now they're not going to necessarily prime your numbers to make it a deal based on that. They're going to try and sell it just like any other vehicle. So if you're thinking about getting one of those types of vehicles, you could probably get a very good deal on a lease. And given your short term, that's what I would try to do, okay? Because when you go out on the private market, there's just a lot of if, ands, or buts, all right? And you could do the math, and if that's something you're good at, financials and everything, then I would do that. I would try to do the math. If you're not, if you don't trust yourself, stay away from it, because you're opening yourself up to all these different variables and the dealers that are going to try to hustle their profit and everything. If you don't understand it 100%, just stay away from it. I would recommend avoiding it, okay? And just sticking with the lease and knowing that when you don't need the car anymore, it's going to be gone. Okay, that's what I would do. And I would also try to find the vehicles that have that hold their, let's get away from that term residual so we don't get confusing. Stick to the vehicles that hold on to their value longer, okay, that depreciate slower, let's put it that way. Cars depreciate, we know they're a depreciating asset, so the question is how fast. So if you're looking at a small car, a compact sedan or something, and again, if you're in Europe or somewhere where those cars are kind of more popular, maybe this is a different story, but overall, compact sedans usually don't hold their value very well at all. So it's not going to be favorable for a lease. However, considering that's something you don't want to be saddled with in purchasing, right? If it's going to depreciate very quickly, maybe leasing that type of vehicle is actually going to be good for you, because the dealer's sort of taking on more of that responsibility. Now you're going to have to structure that deal so that you're not taking the brunt of that for the dealership, right? You want to find a vehicle, and again, if you're not picky, you're in the driver's seat, pardon the pun, because you can find a vehicle that the dealer has a lot of, that's hard to sell. Structure a lease deal so they can get it off their lot, essentially, because more of the vehicles that they can't sell just off their lot, kind of park somewhere for 3 years, right? They got you coming in for service, and there's other ways they can make the money. So they're okay leasing the car instead of it just sitting there collecting dirt, taking up a space that they can fill with a higher demand vehicle. So if that's something you want to do, that might actually be advantageous for you. Just have to structure the deal correctly, because that is a very quickly depreciating asset when you come to those small cars. Okay, so another thing that people don't think of with a lease, I want you to pay attention to, is the month that you're going. Now, it seems like, okay, you're in 3 years, so you want to get one of those 3-year leases. So you're not maybe necessarily wanting to wait 6 months, because now you might get a 3-year lease and have the car over this allotted period of time that you have to have the car, okay? So you may be in somewhat of a hurry. Don't send that message. Don't tell anybody that by any means, okay? You have time, and play it like you have time, but between you and I, don't have time, okay? You have to get in there. So the other thing I would look for is the month that you're going in, these lease incentives change. And sometimes, and I wouldn't say it's common, but it's more common than people believe it. you could be going in for two different types of vehicles, and the bigger vehicle with the higher trim levels and everything, just a far better model, okay, is actually cheaper on a lease. It's actually less expensive leasing, and that's just the way that the incentives happen to work out, combined with the fact that that vehicle may actually depreciate less than the less expensive or lower model, right? Because it's more valuable, it's going to depreciate less. That's what the lease payments are based on. So if you can see, and I hope I've displayed it well, I have a tendency to kind of just rant and talk, and I know more than what comes out of my actual, what comes out of the mouth sometimes than in the microphone, but you can kind of see shaping up here, and the message I'm trying to send, hopefully, is that you really got to pay attention to the leases and the values of the car, and that's what's going to shape what's best for you. So finally, just in conclusion, I do think leasing is something you need to favor, okay? Because I don't think you want to be saddled with something you have to sell at the end of the term. If you did, I would definitely say, get something that is of higher value and put yourself in a good position. If you're actually selling, put yourself in a good position at the end with a higher value vehicle, an SUV, a pickup truck, something, so that you could go to a auto buying store, okay, like a CarMax, or down here we have a service that's called like Auto Buy, okay, and they basically will come to your house, survey the vehicle, and all they do is actually buy cars. They're not really even dealers. They just buy cars, they buy boats, they buy motorcycles, they buy all these things basically with motors, and then they sell them to dealers, and they just really make a few $100s on every single car, okay, kind of doing the dealer's resourcing for them. So that's what I would do if you were buying. That's what I would do if you were leasing. If you have any additional questions, I can't necessarily always leave my link. I do sometimes when I keep it relevant, but I'm trying to stick within the Quora guidelines. So if they're listening here, I keep you guys in mind. Don't worry. But just follow. That's my company there. You can find it. That's our domain, and you can feel free to ask me. I have blogs and everything. You can just go into the comment section and ask me any additional questions there, or of course. Respecting Quora, if it's a general question or generic question, you can again ask it here and just tag me in it, and I can answer that for you too. Okay, so I hope I was able to answer your question, Austin, and have a good day and good luck with your lease or with your purchase.